Hi guys, welcome back to our Mercury series. Today we're going to be doing Mercury in the 4th. I got a new camera. I don't know if you guys can tell, it's clearer. But yeah, let's get into it. So for the 4th house, we're going to do our quick 30-second overview. It is about family. It's about our home, our country, our culture, our roots, our ancestral lineage, the actual what's it called, family tree, and each person on it. That's very important to us in the 4th house. Our race is very important. Food is super important. Our mother specifically, our childhood / our upbringing, our emotional and nostalgic experiences. So when we blend these two things up, what do we have? First of all, when it comes to Mercury, I always like to ask the question, what are we talking about? When Mercury's in the 4th house, our conversations always make their way back to a family member. These are the kind of people who you are talking to them. You could be talking about anything. You could be talking about Red Bull. You could be talking about the weather. And somehow they will, in their mind, they always associate things in their conscious mind with a family member. So if you say, hey, it's hot out today, and you'll be going on, and the topic in your mind is the weather, a 4th house Mercury person will always take it to, oh, and my mom loves to go out in the sun, or my father loves to go fishing, so this is a good day for him. No matter what happens, we meander our way back to the family and back to the 4th house. The mind, because the 4th house represents Cancer, and it's very nostalgic, it's very focused on what's happened in the past. Our mind also wanders back to something that happened in childhood. Anything in the present day, anything, if you just look around your environment, anything that you see can remind you of something, an experience that happened, or maybe just a feeling of your childhood, or even songs, you guys, because this is also somewhat media that we like to intake representing Mercury. Any song that was like big when you were like 4 or 5 or 7 or 8, something that brings you back to like deep childhood, you will constantly see things that take you back to that time. The conversation, no matter what, always also meanders back to an emotional experience that we've had, and it doesn't have to be with our family, but anything that makes us feel very emotional. You may be less apt to share that part. You may be wanting to more keep that to yourself, but nonetheless, your mind will go there. If someone's talking about something, it may trigger an emotional experience, like you to remember something, and you might keep that to yourself. It'll also meander to back to the relationship with your mother. No matter what happens, especially when you are talking to other family members, you will constantly bring up your mom and how she makes you feel, and experiences and conversations that you've had with her and stuff like that. The reason that your mind is always going back is because your mind is very nostalgic, as is just the energy of Cancer. Anything that reminds you of a former time is what you're talking about. Books, movies, TV shows, events, shows. And when I say shows, I mean like if there's a circus that comes to town and you always used to go with your brother or your mom or something like that. That's where your mind always goes. 4th house is a succeeding house, and it's a water house. Things tend to get, no matter if it's the 4th, 8th, or 12th, tend to get very swallowed in these houses, and so they are not bursting onto the scene with the energy. And what this does is it sort of swallows up your Mercury. It sort of swallows up your thoughts and your voice and your just inclination to want to start conversations with people. You may not want to talk a lot to people that you're not close with. When it's people that you're close with, you feel very comfortable because your mind is always going to this emotional place to bring up your family members. And it's also easier because if you're talking to a family member or a close friend, they probably already know of some of these events that you're talking about, or they probably know the people that you're talking about. But if you are in a situation where you might be tasked with making small talk, whether it be starting a new job or you're working on a project with people you don't know super well, you can tend to be more quiet because you just may sort of feel like these sorts of conversations, these things that you want to talk about, don't really work with strangers, and that's kind of correct. So you are just more inclined to keep things to yourself. This is a house where you shine at home. So talking to people outside of the home or not related to the home isn't going to be your first line of, or even second or third line of defense. It's kind of would be, it can tend to be a last resort if you have to. And that depends on the sign. Obviously, if you have Gemini, if you have Libra or Aquarius, you're going to be, this still applies, but to a lesser degree. But if it's in a water sign, especially if it's in like a Scorpio, which is super secretive, or a Pisces or something like that, talking to outsiders is not our first go-to. Superficial conversations or even superficial interactions are just not super appealing. They don't appeal to what you're thinking about. They don't appeal to what you want to talk about or where you want to go with your mind, your ideas. So those are things you're going to sort of tend to stay away from. Mercury in the fourth house is also very interesting because it's a very non-emotional planet and a very emotional and nostalgic house. There is a mix of the mental and emotional when Mercury comes into the fourth. Is this Gemini behavior, and then Cancer can be moody on its own. Moods can come and go for you very quickly. You could be feeling very angry or very sad, and then not too long after that, something can distract you, or you can see something and it can trigger you to be very happy, or it can just bounce back and forth, your moods. Your memory and your moods are also often very blurred. So if you had, for an example, and this definitely goes for experiences that are deep in our childhood, if you went to a birthday party, a kid's birthday party, and you really liked the kid, for example, you can definitely, the mood can color the memory, and that you may remember the birthday party as being more fun or just better than it was. You'll just be like, wow, it was so amazing, but it really was just a regular birthday party with somebody that you really like. And the inverse is true as well. If there is something that really hurt your feelings, especially if it was a family member who did it, or something intense happened around family, then you're going to have that color the experience. You might, let's say you got in an argument with a family member, you might remember them. If they insulted you once, you might, like, you know, people like add to the story. Like, they'll be like, if someone insulted you, let's just say someone like a cousin came over for a barbecue and they stole $5 out of your room, and that really hurt you. Because you are so hurt, that the memory and the mood sort of blur, and you might be like, and you took $100, and it's like, no, I didn't. But in your mind, the mood has sort of taken over the conscious part. And so that's how those things can really become blurred. So you sort of are definitely a person who can tend to remember things the way that you want to remember them. Definitely, and we all do it as human beings, but you are a person a lot more than the average who will remember things in a way that fits your own narrative rather than being more objective about what happens. If, however, your Mercury is in Libra, I would say you are less inclined to do that, but still more than the average person. Mercury is also very rational, and Cancer is one of the most irrational signs, and Pisces as well. So there's a mix of the rational and the irrational here. Cancer, I've noticed, is also very biased. Cancer squares Libra, which is very unbiased. So your take on things, your thoughts and your opinions on your family members, because these are the things that you're thinking about, on the things that they do, can really be based out of reverence rather than logic. These are the kind of people who, like, if you have a sibling, maybe your sibling is a bit of a bully at school, and everyone else, you know, all other Mercury signs in other houses may be like, hey, my sibling's a bit of a bully, and they're going to respond in their own way. But because you love your sibling, you may excuse or rationalize the behavior because, again, it fits more with your own narrative and your own logic, and it's irrational. Just like the love for our family members is irrational because they're not perfect people, but we would go to the end of the earth for them anyway. And so your mind is, a Mercury in the fourth house, it really grapples with that. It really grapples with what it sees and then how deeply Mercury also feels. And it tries to do its best to, like, sort of fit in the middle, but Mercury is very shifting, and so is the fourth house, and so is Cancer. So kind of whatever you want to believe is what you can tend to believe. That's really a theme of this placement. The fourth house is also your home, life and your family, sort of the vibe in your home, the physical home, and the vibe of your family members. So When you have Mercury here, your family members can be very Gemini-like. They really like to talk. They are talking about one thing and then they are talking about the other thing. They are going here and going there. They are going all over town. They constantly have stories about things. They were doing stories about their friends because of course they have friends because they love to talk. Definitely when you get together for holidays, for Thanksgiving, for Christmas, there's a lot of this going on and everyone can just be, and it could just be the vibe of your house that somebody's talking and the rest of the family, or a couple people are talking and the rest of the family knows like, well, I want to share my part, but I can't get a word in with these people because they just love to, so then they gotta and it's sort of can turn into this energy of everyone just trying to get their thoughts in because everyone has so much to say. With that being said, because that's the energy of your family and the energy of your home, the communication style, the way you like to communicate, is something that you will mimic from your family. And that's going to be really dependent on the sign. But the idea that you will mimic it from them is universal. However your family members talk, whatever the vibe is what you're going to do. If you have a Mercury and Libra in the 4th house, you may have a very talkative family, but it's very much going to be the energy of as soon as one person's done talking, it's very formal. I have a Libra moon, so I know. And then the other person will be like, okay, and this is how I would like to respond. And then they'll wait till they're done talking. And then the other person goes, okay, and this is what I want to have to say back to you. If it's Scorpio, then it's going to be very intense. The topics can be dark. They can be, and it doesn't have to be like bad. It can just be like a little bit of dark jokes, but topics are going to be a little bit dark. They're going to be a little bit taboo. If the family members are upset, especially when Mercury's in Scorpio, I have Mercury in Scorpio, there can be some slinging, of the scorpion tail where you guys hurt each other a little bit. And if it's in Gemini, this is just super loving to talk, loving to share, loving to learn. If it's in Aries, people can feel like, okay, I have to be loud to be heard. Whatever it is, whatever the sign is, I want you to look at the sign that your Mercury is in and the sign on your 4th house and sit and think back to times when your family has all been in a room and how do they talk together and does that match up? That is going to be something that you take with you. Your family members can also be very smart, and that's why they have a lot to say because they're always doing something. Gemini energy, Mercury energy is always doing something. They've always been somewhere new. They always have a new friend. They always have a new experience. They always have been reading a new book. They get so bored more than any other sign. They need this constant stimulation, the mental, intellectual stimulation. And then when they get it, they want to unleash it to everyone that they know. They want to share everything. So they can be very smart, very well traveled, not in the sense that they've been around the world, but just in the sense that they've had a lot of experiences and they want to share that. And so you can look to these people when you're coming into the world, because this is our childhood, and you could just be like, wow, everybody in this room has done so many things, has read so many books, they know so much. Like you feel like you're surrounded by people that you can ask them anything and they will have an answer, or they will have an experience where they've been through the same thing. And this just gives you this idea and this feeling of like, I'm from a family full of smart people. They can also be very into education. You can have a brother or sister or any family member that you live with growing up that can be constantly learning in their room. Maybe they have like a whiteboard and they're constantly practicing math, or there's lots of books in your home. I can just see all of you guys, whether as a child or now, books in your home. Maybe your family loves to play chess and they're very smart, or they're really good at poker, or it's just in your home when you were growing up. It wasn't just entertainment for entertainment's sake, and it wasn't just talking for talking's sake. It's like, but you were actually learning something. There's some skill that was being built upon in your childhood. You've seen your family think that this idea of learning is so important that, yeah, I'm going to bring it home. And people don't always do that. People typically will go take a class or go to school or just sort of leave learning in places for learning. But when someone brings learning into their house, intellect into their house, and tries to work on a skill in their house, like that really leaves an imprint on you, and that makes you feel like this is really an important part of life, and it becomes an integral part of who you are. The 10th house is what's at the top. It's what we show to people, but the 4th house is the deepest in our soul. And you feel deep in your soul that learning is important, that it is good, that it is necessary, that there's no way that you could walk through this life and not learn. You are a person who is so inspired because your family and your home life is like this, that you take it throughout your life. You're the person who, while we all listen to music on the way to work, every once in a while you're throwing in an audiobook. And it's not just like Harry Potter or something, again, for entertainment's sake. It could be Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It could be Atomic Habits. It could be something about a specific niche topic that you're interested in. That's the sort of energy you carry with your life. You are always learning, and you really get that from your family. Your parents, specifically your mom, can be teachers, or they could be very learned. I don't know if that's a word. I think it is. They could be professors, or they could just be someone who is in college for a long time, past what, the typical age that you would think that people will go to college. Your home is also a very lively place. It's not boring. There could be also, in addition to a lot of books, there could be a lot of board games. There could be a lot of people coming in and out. There's maybe lots of rooms, and each room has something activity you can do, painting or chess or a library or a karaoke machine, or just something where you feel that this place is lively. Even if you were stuck home on a snow day or a rainy day, you would not really be bored because there's just so much to do. I think if there was any advice that I would give to you guys, which you probably don't need, is that home and learning are together. I think something that would make you guys really happy if you don't have it is to have a room, or even if you just have a desk in your bedroom and a chair for your favorite hobbies and a skill for you to build on. Learning, we can learn anything. We can learn how to add, we can learn something. What you really like to learn is skills that you can build upon. You don't just learn the piano one day and that's it. You learn where the keys are, and then you learn how to hold your hands and what to do with your feet, and then you build on it the next time. Learning a song, and then you learn a more complicated song. If you have a place in your house where you feel like you can learn, even if it's just a chair where you can go read your books, that is going to make you feel so at home. That's going to make you stimulated. That's going to make you enjoy being at home. And it's important. As anybody that has a Cancer placement or a 4th house placement, the home has to really represent you, and it has to be a place you want to be. It is your comfy little nest away from the world. But even in your comfy nest, you want things to be going on up here, and that's very understandable. So make sure you carve out that place. Make sure, even if you just get a used bookshelf for $10, you have a bookshelf with all your favorite books, and that's really going to just make you feel very comforted. You also may prefer to learn at home, or maybe get the best learning from home. It's possible you could be homeschooled, or you may feel like you do really well in online classes. A lot of people don't. I don't. I really like to be in the class. I have a 9th house Mars, so I like to be at the school and talking to the teacher and talking to the kids. And I feel like I get engaged, and a lot of people feel like when they're at home, they can get distracted. But you, on the other hand, your gift of learning is already placed in the place of home. So if you do have an online class, if you went to school during COVID, it's very likely that you excelled and had a good time. You maybe felt like you could focus better, or you learned more, or you got better grades because you were learning at home. Just something about being comfortable at home allows you to learn twice as fast. You also, because this is thought, you put a lot of thought into your home. You also put a lot of thought into the functionality of it. You want your home to be practical. Mercury rules Gemini, but also Virgo. Virgo's super practical. Even when you're picking out a home to buy, if you have bought a home or you will in the future, you're gonna think, you're not just gonna be like, oh, I like this home, it's pretty, it has what I want, and that's it. Is it close to my job? Is it practical? Does it make sense? Is it close to my other family members, which is something that I think would be important to you? Do the rooms make sense? Are the rooms practical? And how can I make it more practical? And it could just be little stuff. And that's the beauty of Mercury is about the details. Mercury is about the little stuff. I had a bathroom in the past and it was beautiful, but it was pretty outdated and it had nothing to like for me to put my stuff on. And I really had to think practically, like it takes me long to get ready in the morning because I constantly have to go out of the bathroom and get my stuff. So I had my dad install a floating shelf and it totally changed the way that I got ready. It was so much faster. It added beauty, functionality, stuff like that just really gets you going and really makes you happy. And you have like people will walk through your home and be like, this is well thought out because of you have put so much thought into it. I think that you guys would be great therapists because this is about talking and sharing about deep emotional experiences, about our childhood. That's so much about what therapy is about. In a private, personal space, one-on-one, where you feel that this is not a superficial relationship, this is something we're building upon. And that's why I think you guys would be great therapists or healers or just listeners of some kind where somebody can really share and show their emotional self to you. You would also be great at just benefiting from therapy. Some people don't benefit from therapy as much as others, but you can, because it's really a place where you talk about your family dynamics. You can talk for 2 hours, over the course of time about how your sister said something to you when you were 8 and how that affects you, and you could be 28. And that's with a stranger, they're not going to know what to do with that as much as a doctor who can really go in there with you and think about how that experience affects who you are today. You really have a need to dissect all this, to dissect each one of your family members and dissect your childhood and your childhood, like your little 5-year-old self, and dissect these events and experiences and these thoughts more than in comparison to some people. And so I think therapy gives you that room, whether you be in the doctor chair or you be in the patient chair. So guys, my overall final thoughts for Mercury in the 4th house. I'm going to read it right off my laptop so I can read it just how I wrote it. It's my final thought. You learned from a very early age that communication is super important in life, and you want to spend it talking about things that shaped you and with people who matter to you. Don't forget that talking with others and lighthearted conversation can help as well. Teaching and learning was a huge part of your introduction into this world, and you should carry it with you through your life. So guys, I hope you like this interpretation of Mercury in the 4th house, and I see you for Mercury in the 3rd.